Sora Flames! This is the new world, new translation, new world, new translation. Let's get ready for the River remix. And I'm a parasite that I can't control my own reactions and satisfaction. I can't control the beast that's living inside me! I don the red. Red's the color of the blood. I had to steal from all the wicked.
What's going on, my arch fiends of chaos? It's none other than your king of the night, Vince Vatamix Turk. And now, let's talk about more Final Fantasy stuff. Now, could Final Fantasy 15 been a better game without the microtransactions? This is a very popular topic, and I wanted to address this, especially at an appropriate time, and since Final Fantasy 15 is making big news with the Season Pass 2. I think it's gonna be an appropriate subject to talk about again, since Final Fantasy 15 is back in the spotlight again thanks to Season Pass 2. So I'd have to say it could have been a better game without the microtransactions. And when I mean the microtransactions, the episode DLCs should have been within the game. It should have been within the game. Same thing with the character gameplays as well. Now, I will go and say I defend Comrades, because Comrades is an MMO, and MMOs are supposed to cost to keep the servers running, and since they don't have like a direct cost like 14 where you have to pay $15 a month when you reach a certain level, I think $20 for the Comrades was decent enough to pay for Square Enix's server. Since they have a different kind of server than Play Online, they need to have this server running up for Final Fantasy 15. So to use Sony's server, they have to pay a little bit into the server. So I think Comrades is the only exception where microtransaction is actually, it's actually the only microtransaction I approve of. Now, when it comes to episode DLCs, I think they should have stayed in the game, and they should have been all the updates with the story and stuff like that. They should have been within. They should have been within the actual. They should have been within the actual game as it is. Even the Chapter 13 update as well. I think what happened is Hajime Tabata thought it was a grand idea to actually delay stuff and sell it to you by piece, so it makes you crave more of the story and what happens. So they want you to pay more money to do this. Which was one of the problems of Final Fantasy 15 and why some people hated Final Fantasy 15, besides it being stripped away from its Versus 13 heritage. But I'm pretty sure even though Versus 13 is scrapped, I'm pretty sure that Square Enix would actually try to do something that's like Versus 13 just to get the fans to buy more, because they pandered Final Fantasy 15 through so many means. They had Noctis join Tekken 7. They had a mobile game, a new Empire mobile game, an anime for the weebs, and a movie using Game of Thrones actors as voice actors. So they're really trying to push Final Fantasy 15 at everything and all things. The Cup Noodle advertisements, or Cup Noodles this and that, Cup Noodles, Cup Noodle stuff as well. And Noctis is one of the strongest one of the top tier characters in the city of NT as well. They're trying to push Final Fantasy 15 to up to front four since it's their Square Enix's latest game. But that's not what I'm talking about. The points I'm trying to get into this video is that there's such thing as good business, business ideals and bad business ideals. Bad business ideals would be when you try to take half the story out, so you're confused, and then when they do put more story in there, not only it's going to cost you a pretty penny, and probably up to a lot of money, because, that stuff adds up, but it's also going to be retconned too, so everything you remember about Final Fantasy 15 is gone. So this is the Chapter 12 story. I hated the new Chapter 12 story. I hate the Chapter 12, Shiva cutscene now, because it changed everything. It stated that Arden was the one who turned Ifrit, rather than Ifrit was the one who turned Arden, which was thought to be the reality before, but now it's no longer apparent. Now it's Arden is responsible for Ifrit's turn to the dark side, but because Ifrit was already in love with Shiva, which I don't know how ice and fire can smash, but I guess since they both got human-like bodies, I guess it could work. Just Ifrit can't get excited because he'd burn the shit out of her and mess her up pretty badly since her skin's like super cold. It'd hurt her badly. But that's besides the point. Besides biology stuff in this game that really, the thing that turns my stomach is the retconning. Like, the Piteos Ruins is no longer canon anymore. So everything you did in the Piteos Ruins meant nothing. It meant absolute no shit. So, the only thing that's good going there is getting the Black Hood to dodge attacks, and that's about it. And to play a hard dungeon. That's his, but there's no use for it no more because it's no longer canon. Because they retcon so many things to it, and so many things to come. And I get that they're trying to sell more and make this game stay alive any means necessary. I mean, this is Square Enix's, biggest Final Fantasy game, after 13, and, Kingdom Hearts 3 hasn't came out. Final Fantasy 7 Remake, we don't know when that's coming out, so I can see why they're pushing 15 and put more content in 15, especially nowadays. But the problem is, when you cut so many story, then you have to go back and try to patch more story, which would turn people off from buying the game in the first place, because then you're only getting a quarter portion of what you were supposed to get. The game Final Fantasy 15 was not that long. You didn't even need to grind or level up. And the last boss with Arden, which I still think they should have a harder level cap with Arden, I still think they should patch that in for when episode Arden comes out, or make it so, or make an alternate one where you play as Arden and Noctis ends up being the final boss, but you're supposed to lose to Noctis, something like that, just to make that boss fight super hard. Either way, whether it's swippy swap or swappity swip, but nonetheless, they're trying. It's almost if they're just trying to make money and milk Final Fantasy 15. They know it used to be Versus 13, and they know that people, like the characters and stuff like that. People do like the characters of 15, even when it got turned to 15. They know how much the fangirls love Prompto, and the fact that Prompto doesn't take life seriously and takes a bunch of selfies. There's a fangirl club for Gladiolus because Gladiolus is the masculine alpha male, Jason Momoa type alpha male, and then Ignis with there's fangirls for Ignis who likes the classy black butlery type of men with class. So there's something for everybody, and they got RNA for us guys, and they got Cindy for us guys. But I think they're trying to push too much with everything. I do defend Comrades because that's a multiplayer and you gotta pay for servers. But the episode DLCs, the Chapter 13 update, the Chapter 12 update should not be retconned, nor it should not be left out of the game on purpose. I think those should have been part of the game. And if you wanted to add more, like add episode Arden, then yeah, make people pay $5. Make people pay $5, but then again, they might swap it out. It might not even be episode Arden, because I remember when Final Fantasy 13-2 came out, we were supposed to have an episode Caius. We were supposed to have a mission that makes us so we could play as Caius. Never happened. It was just Lightning. You play as Lightning after you fix the timeline. Go back in time, play as Lightning, and Lightning defeats Caius before Caius gets his plan off. So they might do that. They might pull this off for episode Arden where it's just a cutscene, but we don't know yet. Hopefully they actually really mean it, but I could see them charging for that stuff because that's extra stuff. Nobody in the world knew that there was going to be an episode Arden before. We never knew until they started talking about it in interviews. We thought episode Ignis was going to be the last episode. We honestly thought, honest to God, the episode Ignis and the Royal Edition would be the last two things that would be made from Final Fantasy 15. Out of the Final Fantasy 15 lore. We thought those were going to be the only ones. And then this game would die off. But I think they're trying to keep this game alive too much by doing way too many things at once. And that's where the problem lies right there, because then it becomes something, then you have to go back and retell that retcon story, and then you have to go back and tell people, and then people figure out that was part of the game all along. If you really look at Episode Ignis is pretty much what happened in Versus 13 in Alticia. Except instead of Ignis being the one you control, it was only Noctis at that point. Noctis got separated from his brothers and Alticia, and he was supposed to be the one to find Luna. Then he ends up fighting Ravis, and then, but he fights Ravis inside the church. Instead, Arden was supposed to cause some bullshit drama like he did, but not in the scale as he did in there. But Episode Ignis is actually the chapter Versus 13 for Noctis. You just swap characters and say, here you go, there's a DLC right there. This is brand new. This has not been done before. So here you go. Just pay me $5. Pay me $5. There you go. You got something brand new. There we go. You got something brand new. Bring it on here. Bring that $5 to me. You got something brand new. So nonetheless, it's more of the fact that they keep microtransaction with every little thing. Now, when it comes to costumes and weapons, I can understand, because those are just aesthetics. You don't need them to play the game. But you do need Episode Gladiolus. You do need Episode Prompto. You do need Episode Ignis. You need the Chapter 13 extended, the Chapter 12 extended, the Royal Edition pack, the Royal Edition pack, Chapter 14, which is only the Chapter 14 is the only thing you need. That should have been free, unless you didn't buy the game and you decided to buy the Royal Edition that came with all of that stuff. But if you chose not to buy the Royal Edition, and at launch where it was incomplete, I don't see why that people. I don't get the reasoning behind. As much as I'm a Final Fantasy 15 fan as well, I love 15, but I gotta put some constructive criticism. I don't see no point in charging for stuff that's supposed to be in the game in the first place. I think there should have already been an Episode Prompto, Gladiolus, and Ignis already in the game. Considering the Season Pass showed pictures of them, of their concept art version for 15. That should have been in the game. You could argue that and, test that. The only reason they put them as DLC episodes is because they released the game way too early. So maybe it might not have been a bad thing if Nomura was still in charge of 15. Because the problem with Tabata is not only he wants to this game to fulfill his agenda, he also wants to rush things out. Meaning you get half the story or quarter of the story, then you pay $5 for the rest of the story, then you pay $14 for what was supposed to be the final product of the story, which is not the final product of the story. Now, I'm a big Final Fantasy 15 fan. I love Final Fantasy 15, but I gotta call shit out when I see it. I gotta talk about the stuff that other fans concern themselves with, and microtransaction is what kind of hurt Final Fantasy 15, because this game would have been a lot better if there's barely any microtransactions, except for the necessary ones, just like for Comrades. Comrades was pretty much the only necessary microtransaction, because they had to pay for servers. They had to pay for servers, so it was it was the only thing it's the only thing I can actually justify as a microtransaction. Only thing I could justify as a microtransaction, because you had to pay for servers. That's the only thing that I can, that's like I said, that's the only thing I can attest to and say was actually a good idea. So with that, I'd have to say, yes, Final Fantasy 15 would have been a much better game, obviously, if they didn't include the microtransactions, because for at least the DLC episodes, the chapter. Now, don't get me wrong, the Chapter 13 and Chapter 12 updates were free. That was good on Tabata. Same thing with the festivals we never wanted. We never wanted the Chocobo Moogle, Chocobo Carnival. We never wanted the Assassin's Creed Festival. So, Tabata was actually playing smart and giving that stuff for free instead of charging us, because we never wanted that. We never asked for that. We asked for more story content, and that's why we're getting more story content, because now I think Hajime Tabata realizes how badly he messed up. Now, don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy 15 is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games of all time besides 7, so it worked out. It's just, I think this would have been a much better game if we didn't have barely microtransactions except for cosmetics and stuff we didn't needed, and possibly episode art, since we never get to play as actual villain as the main character in the main game. So may the crystal be with you. Yes, it would have been a better game without microtransactions. That's my opinion.